Good evening, followers, and welcome to another Queensland Severe Weather Chasers Network cyclone update for Tropical Cyclone Owen, which has re-intensified in the Gulf of Carpentaria and is currently at a Category 2 system. He's just sitting to the east of Port Roper in the Northern Territory and to the north of Port MacArthur. So at 4 p.m. this afternoon, it was a Category 2 system, expected to remain so into tomorrow morning, where it changes its direction. It does a bit of a U-turn and starts heading back towards the Queensland coastline. Then at 4 p.m. tomorrow afternoon, expected to intensify into a Category 3 system. And it's expected to head back eastwards towards the Queensland coastline. Then by 4 a.m. on Friday morning, still expected to be a Category 3. And then 4 p.m. Friday afternoon, still expected to be a Category 3 system, just sitting off the coastline there, just to the north of Gilbert River mouth. As you can see, though, with this forecast track map, that this system is expected to de-intensify quite rapidly once it's hit the coastline, because by 4 a.m. Saturday morning, this system is only expected to be a Category 1 cyclone system. So quite a lot of de-intensifying happening with this system on the Saturday. We have a look now at what the system looks like on the satellite imagery, and what we can see is that we've got this rotation happening here just off the coastline, lots of yellow, some grey, and you can see that there are also lots of little bits of white in there as well, which is showing that the thunderstorms associated with this system, whilst they aren't real high, they are certainly developing over the centre of the system. As you can see, the rotation happening around here, and these thunderstorms are developing right on top of the system, which is a good sign because it's showing that there is no vertical wind shear affecting this system at all. You can also see that there's a bit of thunderstorm activity happening to the west of the system, which would be associated with this system, but this I guess would be more just thunderstorms and activity that's happening, not necessarily related to this, although yeah, okay, it is related to the system, but it's not showing that the thunderstorms have been sheared away in any great extent. And so I just want to have a look now at the rainfall that's going to be associated with this system over the next few days. And here we can see for Thursday, and the bulk of the rainfall is going to be remaining offshore and into the Northern Territory for this system. But the system getting up to about 150 mils of rain offshore. We look through to Friday now, and we can see that the bulk of the rain has now come across onto the coastline up there at the Cape York Peninsula. So anywhere sort of from Normington up to around about Weipa, expecting around about 50 to 100 mils of rain, but the real heavy fall still hanging off the coastline is impacting Mornington Island. They're expected to see about 100 to 150 mils of rain, with some little areas getting up to the 200 mils of rainfall. On Saturday, we can see that the system really has lost a lot of its moisture at this stage as it's crossing the coastline. We can see, though, from Cairns down to Tully, expecting 50 to 100 mils of rain. Of course, that extends further offshore, though, and this area up here where the system has crossed, only expecting 25 to 50 mils of rain on Saturday. On Sunday, though, we can see that a lot of the rainfall has now moved down the coastline, and this is also being predicted by a lot of the other models, with this system moving quite rapidly as soon as it hits the coastline, moving quite rapidly down the east coast of Queensland. So anywhere from around Bowen right down to the New South Wales border can expect to see some rainfall. The heaviest being around the Bundaberg region, expecting 50 to 100 mils of rain. Anywhere from about south of Mackay down to just north of Lismore in New South Wales, expecting 25 to 50 mils of rain. Now having a quick look at the sea surface temperatures for this system and where it is at the moment. The system is getting around 30-degree type temperatures, which is just perfect for cyclone development and intensification. So the sea surface temperatures, nothing to worry about at all. Now looking at the relative humidity around this system. So this is the moisture feeding into the system, and as we know, tropical cyclones absolutely love lots of moisture, and where this system is right at the moment, up to 90% humidity, so very humid for this system. Getting a lot of moisture coming in here from the tropics, from around the Indonesia, Papua New Guinea sort of area. Getting lots of nice tropical moisture coming in and wrapping itself around this system, which this system is absolutely loving. If we then look through to Thursday, and we see that moisture still stays with the system, whilst there is some dry air all around the system. It's not wrapping itself into the system and effectively killing the system off. It's sort of staying at bay, and the system has this good source of warm, humid type air feeding into it, which is great news for this system's life. Okay, now just going to have a look at the models for the system to see where they are predicting for this system to go. And here we are at 10 p.m. tonight. The system sitting here off the Northern Territory coastline near Borroloola, and sitting there as a Category 2 system. Now, as we go through into Thursday morning, and according to the European model, at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, this system sitting just off the coastline of the Northern Territory there, so very, very close to the coastline, but isn't actually crossed it at this stage, so it's still able to maintain a lot of its structure. Now, if we look through to Thursday evening, we can see that the system is making this this easterly movement towards the Queensland coastline, and as it does, it is intensifying as it does so. So 9 p.m. this Thursday evening, heading back towards the Queensland coastline. Friday morning, the system is continuing to head in that easterly motion, and Friday at 10 a.m. expected to be in the middle of the Gulf of Carpentaria as a Category 3 system. It is moving quite quickly though for a cyclone. Friday evening at 10 p.m. is the system is expected to be sitting just off the western coastline of the Cape York Peninsula there near Pompure. I've probably pronounced that incorrectly. I do apologise for that, but it's expected to be there off the western Cape York Peninsula coastline. Then sometime Friday evening, Saturday morning, the system is set to cross the coast. So 1 a.m. on Saturday, it has crossed the coast, and as it does so, it starts to really de-intensify quite quickly, and it adopts more of this this southeasterly motion as it heads towards the Coral Sea once again. And here at 8 p.m. Saturday evening is sitting just south of Cairns at the moment. Quite strong winds happening off the coastline for Cairns. So there could be some quite destructive type winds happening in that Cairns or Innisfail sort of region. Then if we go through to Sunday morning, and as has been said all along, this system's just hugging the coastline, and here at 5 a.m. Sunday morning is sitting just south of Townsville there. Quite strong winds there to its north and eastern side. So Townsville could be experiencing some strong winds by this time as the system continues this track down the coastline. Okay, so now let's have a look at what the GFS has to say about it. And it's saying that at 8 p.m. this evening, the system just sitting off the coastline there at Borroloola. And yeah, just as a Category 2 cyclone. If we then, from the GFS, have a look at what it says the system will do. Here we are at 4 a.m. Thursday morning, and by this stage, the GFS saying that this cyclone has hit the coastline of the Northern Territory. So a little bit different to the European. Remember, the European was saying that it wasn't going to go onto the coastline. GFS saying something different to that, saying that it has just hit the coastline by 4 a.m. on Thursday morning. We now look through to Thursday evening. Now the GFS have taken this system on land, and the system has stayed over land as it starts heading back towards the Queensland coastline. If the system does do that, it is going to be seriously inhibited from intensifying any further than what it is, and will probably start de-intensifying if it remains over land for a period of time. Let's though see what happens Friday morning. And Friday morning, here we are at 5 a.m. and the system has once again entered the Gulf of Carpentaria over the waters and has started to strengthen once again. It's now here near the Mornington Island area, and not sitting as central as what the European model had. It's sitting at further south, which could also stop it from intensifying real fast. We look through to Friday evening, and we can see that by 5 p.m. the system has really raced towards the east and is now sitting off the coastline of the Cape York Peninsula between Prompure and Corumba, just sitting just off the coastline there. Then sometime Friday evening, so we're looking at about 6 or 7 p.m. Friday evening. According to the GFS, the system should have crossed the coastline. And into Saturday morning, we can see that the system really does start to lose a lot of its oomph quite quickly after it's hit the landmass. And by 7 a.m. just sitting here just to the east of Forsyth, and at this stage would be just a low pressure system, a quite deep one, but still just a low pressure system. Saturday evening, according to the GFS, the system tends to stay inland quite a lot further than what the European had it. So if this is the case, the winds associated and the moisture associated with this system will not be as bad or as intense as what the European model was showing. And we see here at 5 p.m. on Saturday that the system is to the south of Townsville and is sitting quite well inland. We'll look through to Sunday morning and just see whether the GFS want to move this system off or closer to the coastline. And we see at 7 AM on Sunday, the system is still sitting quite well inland, just to the west of Rockhampton, and still as a low pressure system. It is still packing a bit of a punch there to its eastern side, but is still just a low pressure system and not as intense as what the GFS had it. Now lastly, but at least not by no means at least, we're going to have a look at the winds associated with this system using Earth Null School, and we can see this system's got quite a good little center for the eye, and the winds are really wrapping themselves around the system quite nicely, so it certainly has some good structure to it at the moment. So folks, that's all we've got time for tonight. Thanks for watching. If you would like to help us out with our forecast and keeping you up to date with all things weather related, please feel free to donate to us using our PayPal link on the page. Thanks very much, and we will talk to you again tomorrow evening.